Yes, I can.
Okay, cool. Then I'll take my headphones off.
All right.
All right. All right. Now we're live on YouTube as well as on Twitch. So those of you that are on TikTok, you can come on over to Twitch or to YouTube, or you can stay here. Now you won't be able to see the entire thing, so you'll just be able to hear, and I'll make sure that this is close enough that you can hear while he is talking as well. Do we got a good sound check over here on YouTube? Can y'all hear us in the comments? Let's make sure everybody can hear us. And we are up. Let's just make sure we had some technical difficulty. Okay, all right, we got lots of yeses. Okay, all righty, let's get into it. So for those of you that don't know, let's give you a little background before we hop in. The debate premise is, are Black women more racist than white women? Now, the back context, I do believe that context isn't necessary when talking about why and where we came about coming to this standpoint here. There was a video that was put up that I rebutted myself, whereby an individual used a specific audio and said that Black women are more racist than white people. To whereby I rebutted that, pretty much stating that it is impossible for that to even be a thing. And I gave multiple examples. The video is still up on my TikTok. To whereby this gentleman here says that, I need to be more open into listening and things of that nature, and he disagreed with me. So in this regard, I said, okay, well then what facts do you have? And you know what? In order for us to fully educate, let's go ahead and have a debate. Let's go ahead and, because there are people that tend to think that I run away from intellectual conversation, to whereby I've literally built my platform on intellectual conversation, and I welcome disagreements, but disagreements must be accompanied by factual information. So without further ado, the structure is 5 minutes opening. And then we're going to do 3 to 5 minute cross-examination. You are free to use your cross-examination time as you see fit, as well as a 5-minute closing. My opponent elected for me to go first. So I'm going to begin, seeing as though we have about 2 minutes to the 10. We could get started now. Would you like to drop any of your, I don't know, I guess socials or anything like that before we get started? Or let me retract that. Is there anything that you would like to say before we get started? I just want to give you an opportunity.
I just want to keep it peaceful, have a normal conversation, all like that. No hate towards one another. Yeah, I'm very respectful when it comes down to conversations like this. So, and I hope nobody thinks I'm conservative after this, because I get a lot of comments about that, like, for real.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I told him already. I have no desire to talk over him. While he's talking, I'm going to go ahead and mute my microphone. I'm going to be listening, doing my thing. And I told him that I expect the same respect in return. I do believe that in some instances, moderators are necessary. But in this regard, I like to believe that, we're grown adults, that we can have, intellectual conversation and or debate respectfully. All right, so let's get into it. Seeing as we're at 2:09, let me go ahead and log that. I will stop at 2:14, as I don't believe that I'm going to even be that long. All right, now, let's go ahead and start off by saying that there's no possible way, as I am ridiculously curious, what you're going to contend my argument with, that you can justify the statement that Black women are more racist than white women. If we go all the way back to the 16th century, it would be intellectually and historically dishonest of us not to mention the creation of race, the social construct that we know that is race, as well as the upkeep and upholding of white supremacy, which leads to racism. Now, multiple systems that have been created over the course of history to oppress marginalized groups of people, Black women have not been a part of that. The historical atrocities that have happened towards marginalized groups of people, Black women have not been a part of that, nor have they ever taken part in that. Now, there are people who will say, okay, well, that was back in the day. What about present day? There are individuals who are now seeking to opt into race and more specifically racism, and to be the recipients of racism by saying, oh, someone called me a name, therefore I received racism. Someone said something derogatory to me because of the color of my skin. That is racism. And that is both intellectually and morally dishonest and disingenuous to even assert. So I cannot think for the life of me what you could possibly say that could even give legitimacy to any argument that Black women are historically more racist than white women. We've seen just recently a white woman weaponize her tears against a Black woman in a Victoria's Secret, to whereby that Black woman was well within her rights, but they listened to that white woman. We saw a white woman weaponize her tears versus a Black man in a park, to whereby we watched her transform from very safe to feeling as though she was in danger. White women have historically, and let's talk about Emmett Till. Emmett Till's, the young lady, well, the older woman rather, that accused him of whistling at her, came out and said that it was false. And she is still living to this day. This country caters towards white women. And while we may understand to a degree that white women are the standard that society seeks to hold, Black women have always been the blueprint for how society exists and continues to be perpetuated over the course of this thing we call life. And at this point, I'm going to yield my final 3 minutes. You're free to begin.
Okay. Yes, I do agree. Historically, white people were more racist than Black people. Okay, and really, it comes, and really, the thought of me thinking that today's women, Black women are more racist than white women is because we have come up to this standard that Black people cannot be racist. Now, when you think about racism, when you think what we went through, all the jokes, all the taunting that people have done to us back in the day. They created TV shows making fun of Black people. They would make stereotypes towards us. They would make lies about us. All that. But it seems that we now have done the same thing, not only towards ourselves, but towards other communities, as of the white community, the Asian community, the Hispanic community. Okay, racism is not just treating somebody in a different way racially. Well, technically it is, but it's also about, sorry, I can't really get my head together. It's also about, it making fun of that person. Look, if you make fun, look, I go to a white woman and I say that's some white people shit. No, sorry for the swear. That some white people stuff. They say it back to me for some odd reason that is racist, and it's very biased to do that today. Okay, and we now just create stuff that Black people can do, but we say that Black people can do this stuff, but white people can't do this stuff. Yet white people have brought us closer. Yet I do believe. Here's my point. I do believe Black women are really bringing us apart, and the reason of that is this whole myth that Black people cannot be racist, and the people who really take advantage of that are Black women. Take T. Lizzie, for example. She says she does not trust white allies. Okay, she says racial stuff towards white people every chance she gets. Okay, it's not. Yes, historically, Black people have been racially discriminated against. Okay. Yes, we don't go out shooting random white people and just getting away with it. We don't go out beating random white people, beating white people in protest. Yes, we don't do that. But you cannot say that we are not racist towards white people, because we make all kinds of jokes to not just white people, but all kinds of race. And some people will be uncomfortable with that. As of so, we have came up, a racial slur had came up, colonizer. Black people have chosen that. Black people, and a lot of people have chosen that the slur colonizer is not racist. Yet white people feel uncomfortable with that word. So if a white person came up to me and said and called me the N-word, you would get mad about that. And you would have every right to get mad about that, because that word makes you uncomfortable because of the history behind that. But when you say that word, but when you call a white person a colonizer, you're basically bringing them back to an age that they did not that they did not exist from, and really don't know if they wanted that to happen or not. So I'm going to end it off right there to see what you think about what I said. And yeah, that's what I'm going to stand on it, because really, when there's
You
a
have
yin,
you have 2 more minutes.
okay, when there's a yin, there's a yang. Okay, so for real, if there's so really this myth that black people cannot be racist, black women are using to their advantage, and I really think that's completely unfair to people who are white. Now, I support my black people. I support Black Lives Matter. I do favoritize liberals sometimes. I'm not a liberal, but I favoritize them because my family is like that. But I'm pro equality, man, and I just don't think what y'all are doing is just completely fair. I'm done.
Are you yielding your final minute? Yes. Okay. Okay. Now we're going to move into cross-examination, and like I said, you're free to use your 3 to 5 minutes as you deem necessary. I'm going to log myself at 2:17. And I will conclude at 2:22. Okay. So the first point that you made, you agreed that historically that white people are more racist than black people, right? However, you doubled down to say that this notion that you believe that black people feel as though that they can't be racist, more specifically, black women, you believe that they utilize this as a talking point to be racist towards white people. Now, you've also stated that we've reciprocated racist acts. Well, I would like for you to tell me how many black women lynched white people. I just need a number.
0.
Okay. Black women whose babies were ripped from their arms and their babies used as alligator bait. How many times did black men or black women rip a white woman's baby from her arms and use it as alligator bait?
0.
Okay. How about slaves? Did any black people have, I mean, historically, yeah, okay. Because I'm trying to understand this point of the reciprocation of historical violence that black women have, because the answer is none. And they've never reciprocated the same. So where that even came from is completely beyond me. Then you mentioned white people stuff versus black people stuff, which in and of itself is really a semantic argument, because what is white people stuff and what is black people stuff is really subject to the individual. But I also want to get more so into something that you mentioned about a creator named T Blizzy. Now, for those of you that know that I've had my disagreements with this young woman, but she is still a black woman, more specifically a black queer woman. And you said she specifically said she does not trust white allies. And my question to you is, why should she?
The thing about it is that if you are trying to create awareness, you need to trust those who say they will bring awareness.
You need to? So are you saying it is a responsibility of black women to trust white allies?
No, I am saying that if you want change, you need to team up with the people you want change from.
You said you need to. Need is an obligation. Need is an obligation. We've historically seen it. Don't get me wrong. It would be historically disingenuous of me not to mention that there were white people that have gone to war for black people and marginalized groups of people. Absolutely. But to assert that she is wrong in her sentiment, that she doesn't trust, hell, I don't trust white allies. I don't trust allies in general, because they've been seen to be nothing more than performative. We trust accomplices, those that want to get in the trenches, those that want to put the work in, those that are actively anti-racist. So there's absolutely nothing wrong with the creator T Blizzy feeling as though that she cannot trust white allies. And your final point, which was by far one of the most historically and intellectually disingenuous arguments, that colonizer is at all in any way comparable to the racial slur that is the N-word, and I'll say the N-word because I'm over here on TikTok as well, is ridiculous and not even closely applicable or comparable. To call someone a colonizer is a historic fact. Europeans colonized the Americas. Now, if that is not your lineage, that's not indicative of who you are. However, to call someone a colonizer is not racist. However, if you fix your lips as a white person to call a black man or a black woman the N-word with an A or an ER, yes, you are committing a racist act. And that is period. Now, I believe the word that you're looking for is prejudice, because no amount of prejudice is enough or is good in any way, shape, form, or fashion. But to even assert that those two are even comparable is ridiculous. And I will yield my final minute.
Okay.
We're at give me just a second.
Okay. Yeah.
2:22. 5, 6, 7. Okay, you have until 2:27.
Okay, and I do get your point. Okay. Let me start.
This is your cross-examination of my opening argument.
Okay. Okay, and I do get your point. Okay. A lot. Okay. T Blizzy. Okay, I do get some allies are not oh wait. Sorry. Yes, but the big problem is prejudice or racist. To be honest, yes, they're not the same, but at the same time, it's not like you're not committing both. White people can also be prejudiced and racist at the same time too. But it depends on what you are doing. One thing about it, man, like see that right there is okay. Yes, historically, yes, but one thing about it, man, um, what happened back in the day? What happened back in the day really does not affect us as much as you think today. Now I get it. There are a lot of racist people today, a lot of racist countries. There's a lot of racism today towards black people. But the big problem about that is that we always bring slavery back into it, like we went through it. We definitely did not go through racism. Slavery. We did not go through slavery. We did not go through segregation. We did not go through any of that. Yet that is a big topic to mention a lot throughout history, especially because there are still racist people today. But the fact that you actually want to bring that up anywhere you go as a black man, that is terrible. You need to talk about experiences of today, not in the past, because you never went through that. Go through experiences that you have went through. Okay? Because you don't hear people who went through the Vietnam War talk about World War II unless they were in World War II. Okay? So the experiences of black people back in the day do not affect us as much. And colonizer, bro. The N-word. Okay, let me just tell you something. Why did the N-word affect us so much? Have you ever asked yourself that? Why did the N-word affect us so much back in the day? Why did it affect us so much? Is it because people use that word to put us down? Is it because people use that word to demonize us, to make us feel lower than a white man with a specific word? So I would like to ask, what white person that you have met, what white person in America, just a normal white person in America, has colonized something? Okay? Every white person we see today has not colonized these lands. Their ancestors may have, but they didn't. They are here trying to make awareness, trying to live their lives as white people. Yet us as black people, we are always bringing race into something. We are always bringing them back to those days. For what? For what? There is no reason to bring them back into those back in time for what the bad things they do. Okay? It's basically like a person coming out of jail. Okay, like you did something bad, you robbed a bank. Okay, now, okay, what if somebody just kept bringing that up to your face? Like, I can't trust you because you robbed the bank. Was it your bank? Was it your house? Do you know the reason why? These are questions us black people have to ask, but we never ask these questions. Okay, so that name colonizer, you're just bringing them back into something that they were never a part of and blaming them for something they never did. And I will give up my next 2 or 3 minutes, wherever it is.
Yeah, you had 2 minutes left.
I will give up on that.
I'm now going to move into my closing argument. It is my understanding that when we have this conversation on the premise of race, and we talk about racism, we talk about white supremacy and the upholding of such, to bring in such arguments such as you weren't born back then brings us to more of a conversation of generational trauma, which is a whole nother conversation for a whole nother day. Then we have this idea that it is at all comparable of the atrocities that white women have historically, more specifically racist white women, have committed against black men and black women, more specifically for this debate, black women. Not even close. When we talk about the systems that are being upheld to this day, the systems that are in place to this day, the school to prison pipeline, gentrification, mass incarceration, which disproportionately affects more black men than it does black women, but there are systems that are in place. When we talk about racism, you must talk about the systems, and it'd be disingenuous of you not to. This idea, there was no way. There was literally no way. And I think it is morally disingenuous that I have not heard a single fact, that I have not heard a single logical argument to prove the claim that black women are more racist than white women. Now, you said you were going to silence King I Speak, and I was waiting. I sat back, I took my notes. You mentioned people in the Vietnam War not talking about World War II, not knowing that those are two different wars. My brother, you all over the place. The entire assertion is not only asinine, but it is futile at best. So I am going to sit back for the next 5 minutes and listen to this idea of my silencing.
See, you got the crown. Okay. Yeah, okay. You're right. Now, I went too far saying, silence King I Speak. Okay, I was just hyped up because my fans hyped me up. Okay, I admit I went too far there. But I did came here to spread an awareness right here. Okay, because we have come to a point in life where people, okay, first off, let me just tell you something. Yes, those are two different wars, but the problem is that one thing about it, because those are two different wars, this is a whole different generation. Why are we actually putting white people, comparing white people to what their ancestors did? This is a whole different generation. Generational trauma, in my opinion, does not exist. Because had black people not told you about this, you would not be preaching what you are preaching today. You wouldn't. And the fact is, I have brought you facts. You just don't get them. Okay? The reason why, and I'm gonna say this again, the reason why black women are more racist to white women is because black people have just come to this idea that they can't be racist. And that is just not true. Just because you are a person of color, just because you have experienced racism, or had ancestors that have experienced racism, does not mean you cannot be racist to another race. Okay? And I don't know what is wrong with actually comparing colonizer to the N-word. Colonizer is a thing to put down white people and put them in a place where they do not want to be. My friends who are white are not colonizers. They stay by my side. They know what I went through. But I would never go to them and preach something that they did not, and just have to just mention racism and slavery every chance I get. Okay? And I make I'm gonna tell y'all now, I make racist jokes. A lot of them. black people, white people, Asian, and I will not. And the one thing about it, I will not bring. I will not. I will let my white people, my white friends, say that. I will let my white friends say that stuff. It's because it is fair that I do that. That is called equality right there. But if I sit down making racial comments to my white friends and say that they cannot say that, that is completely racist. And our black women do that all the time. Our black women always do that. And then it comes down to a point where our black women are now have created this thing called colorism. And I know that is because my mom taught me about colorism. The only people that really talk about colorism is mostly black women. So not only that you don't have white people to talk about, but when you're done having these white people that you're talking about, you jump to your own brothers and sisters and start a race war with them. The people that you talk that went in through slavery with you, you talk down on your own brothers and sisters because of the color of their skin? Dog, I don't know what you mean. Black women have shown that they are racist. Now, I'm not saying that all black women are racist, but it comes to a fact that most liberal black women can be racist, and only because of this myth that black people cannot be racist. And not only that, it's turning blacks and white, keeping blacks and whites separated, but now our black women are turning against our black men. It's just separating us until we come to the fact that black people, especially black women, can be racist. Yes, I get it. They're black and they're women. They're at the bottom of the barrel right there, especially if you're a part of the LGBT community that's black. But let me just tell you, if you're a human being on this earth and you are part of any color, any race, you can be racist if you're prejudiced to another race. Maybe I'm not making sense, or maybe you're just not wanting to get it. But I'm done.
Wow. 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 That's like the extent of my thought process right now. Wow. And let me before we end this, because there's no way that I can allow you to mention colorism in black women without mentioning that dark-skinned black women and black women in general are by far the most disrespected and unprotected of all. And dark-skinned women are the recipients of colorism. That's why they talk about it, because they are the recipients of it. The fact that you allow your white friends, and maybe this is a teachable opportunity for you. There's nothing equal about allowing your white friends to make racist jokes around you. There's nothing equal about allowing your white friends to say the N-word around you. Now, if that is how you feel, that is how you feel. But let me be very clear about something. There's nothing equal about that. Equality, equitable equality, not only says that we're on the same playing field, but we're okay being on the same playing field. We fought for equality for how long? But equitable equality says that we're going to come together and we are okay with one another standing beside one another. Let's take, for example, the example of a 4-foot man, a 5-foot man, and a 6-foot man, right? Equality says that there's a fence here and we can all walk up to this fence. Now, are we going to have the same vision over that fence? Absolutely not. But equality says that we all have the opportunity to walk up to that fence. That's this thing we call life. Now, equitable equality says that, you know what, that 6-foot man is okay with that 4-foot man and that 5-foot man getting a little step stool so that they'll be able to see over and see the same things that that 6-foot man sees. Now, what work you put in is completely up to you with how successful you become in this thing we call life. But there is nothing equal about allowing those things to happen around you. And I would encourage you and I would implore you to confront that mindset that you believe that is equality. There's nothing equal about that. This idea that you believe that black people can be racist even after being presented with facts, I believe that that's something that you're going to have to work through. I believe that's something that a lot of people are going to have to work through. But when we start talking about race and racism, it is disingenuous of us not to mention that race in and of itself is a social construct. It didn't exist until the Europeans, the same ones that colonized the Americas, decided to say that we are better than you. We are more superior than you. Whereby now laws are being created. Are you familiar with the Black Code laws? Jim Crow?
Yes, I am.
What about mass incarceration? Present day? Yes. What about the school to prison pipeline? What about gentrification? All systems that we do not take part in. Now, we all know about generalizations. We all know about the dangerous nature of generalizations. When we talk specifically about that specific group of those ancestors that sought to bring about the creation of these systems, to even equate colonizer, which has never been any type of negative connotation, to a word that was literally utilized to dehumanize an entire group of people, there is no comparison. We talked about back in the day. Now we talk about present day. This idea that black women, who more specifically for us as black men, now let's get uncomfortable for a minute, whom after we treat them like shit, after we rake them over the coals, they still go to war for us. I want you to think about your black mother that's going to see this, your aunties, your grandmother, if they're still living, if they're not, God rest their soul, that are going to see this and think about what you just said. The black women that are in your life that are going to see this, that are going to think about this statement that you just made. Now, are we correcting an assumption that all white women are racist? Absolutely not. But if they are not working to be anti-racist, then they are contributing to the racist society that we are being brought up in. It is a fact that we are living in a racial society, one that says that white is right and anything that has color is wrong. But we have people that will fight back against that notion, that look like white people, that are those accomplices, that says that, oh, no, we're not going to do that. But then we also have that group of white people that says, oh, no, white is right. Everything else is wrong. So this assertion that black women, whom even during that time coddled white women, went to war for us, have given up everything, sometimes as much as we don't even deserve. And we don't protect them nearly as much as we should, so we confront that mindset. The colorism that you mentioned, that you acknowledged, that black women talk about, that they are the recipients of. Now, does that absolve black women of the responsibility of the prejudice and or the hatred that they give off toward people? Absolutely not. But to even assert or to come to the logical or illogical conclusion that black women are even capable of being nearly as racist as white women, I want you to confront that mindset. I want you to go back to the drawing board. I want you to think about that. But more specifically, I want to go back to this idea of equality. There is nothing equal. And I don't know if anyone told you, but I'm going to be here to tell you, black man to black man. This isn't debate to debate. This is black man to black man. There's nothing equal about allowing a white person, man or woman, they or them, to dehumanize you. You also shouldn't be using those racist jokes. But hey, you live your life the way that you see fit. But I want you to confront that mindset. There's nothing equal about that. Now, are there comedians that make that joke? We can have that. We can make that semantic argument. We can have that conversation because it happens. But does that mean that you have to contribute to that? Absolutely not. This idea of what's black people's stuff and what's white people's stuff, again, semantics. But as long as there's no ill will behind said joke, because there are white people that make racial jokes. Take, for example, Gary Owens. He makes racial jokes all the time. But does that absolve him of the responsibility of being racist? Hell no. Unless he's actively working to be anti-racist. So I want you to confront that mindset. And I'm going to give you this opportunity for as long as you like to say whatever else you need to say before I close this down.
Okay. In my opinion, I do see that as equality. I'm gonna start off with that. Yes, I do see that as equality, and I will always see it. The reason why is because we don't need to give up on the education on what happened to us historically. But we need to stop putting white people in this bubble that they don't want to be in. A lot of white people want to actually help and actually contribute to helping black people. But one thing about it, black people like you, no offense, but black people like you are very stubborn ever since you heard about people who look like us go into slavery. And ever since then, white people have been enemy number one in our eyes. White people have been like this so-called colonizer you think of, because that is the way we treat them. We actually make a whole circle for ourselves and not letting any other race in unless we are cool with that race. But one thing about it, white people will never be invited into that circle because of what their ancestors did. And I would hate for somebody to treat me badly just because my father did something. My father was not the best person in the world. I'm not going to explain the things that he did. But one thing about it, there are a lot of people who see me as a nice guy. And I would hate for those people to see me as a treacherous being just because of what my father did. These white people today, most white people today, have done nothing but live their lives. The same thing we want to do. But they can't do that. Because every time a black person can't get what they want, they're racist. Every time a white person does not have a certain amount of black people in their company, they're racist. This word racist has been used so many times, man. When are we going to see that sometimes life is just life and we just need to leave that racism in the past and keep it there until somebody brings it up, until somebody actually does something racist, until somebody actually brings up your skin color? That is the problem. Because a lot of people don't a lot of people, when they do something, they don't bring up race. Mostly black people bring up race all the time. Asians bring up race all the time. Latinos, not as much as black people and Asians. And to sit here and to tell me that colonizer is nothing like the N-word. Yes, I get it historically, no. But today is the start of some racism towards white people as of that word colonizer, something that white people aren't. Their race isn't colonizer. Why are you calling him a colonizer? His last name or first name is not colonizer. Why call him a colonizer? For me to sit there and call a white person a colonizer is the same thing. He is the same thing like a white person sitting here calling me the N-word. It is the same because it makes them uncomfortable. It puts them down. For what? What are we putting them down for? What are we putting the white man across the street down for? And this colorism thing. One thing about it, man. Yes, there are black people who say dark skins aren't beautiful, but there are also black people who say light skins aren't beautiful. There are black people who say brown skins aren't beautiful. Okay, colorism. Okay, one thing about it, this thing colorism is basically saying don't have a preference when it comes down to skin color. Just love black women. And I do. I don't care what your color is. I don't care. I don't care if you're light skin, brown skin, dark skin. I don't care. But to sit there and say I don't want me not wanting a dark skin because I don't find her just as attractive as a light skin is colorism. It's just an excuse to find another racial argument if there's no white people to have a racial argument with. Okay? So really, this whole thing about black women are black people are not racist, once again, gives black women the advantage to be so racist. Okay? Because one thing about it, why are we calling them colonizers? Why are we putting them down? Why are we mentioning racism every chance we get? For what? For what? Just because my granddaddy got beat in the civil rights movement? I go to a white person. My granddad got beat in the civil rights movement. Okay, I have rights. Okay, use those rights. If you have rights, you will be able to do stuff. Me, I graduated. I'm going to college. I'm doing a lot of things white people can't do, and there are many things black people can do that not other white people can do that black people see as racist. Okay, so no, I don't think it's impossible for black people to be racist, because if you give us the definition of racist and a black person does the exact same thing and the white person does it too and the Asian does it too and the Hispanic does it too, they must be racist. They all must be racist. To be prejudiced towards another group, sometimes yes, that can be racist. It does not matter. So if black people, yes, historically, yes. But one thing about it, man, you cannot bring what those white people did in the past here today. Because one thing about it, that is something the white people want to get rid of. That is a history white people want to get rid of. And the only reason why we have not been able to really relief from slavery and segregation and Jim Crow is because we simply won't let it go. We are holding this grudge, and it's not fucking healthy. My bad. Not healthy. And it will never be healthy. We can't just keep bringing race into everything. And that is something mostly black women do. And in my opinion, and I will say this to the day I die, until we have some change in the black community, black women are more racist than white women. And until black women have proven to me, they don't have to prove anything to me, actually. They don't have to, but until they prove to me, until I've seen some change, for now, yes, black women are more racist than white women, and I stand by that.
Alrighty. Well, I think we've given people more than enough to think about here, and that's about all I have there. Appreciate you for pulling up. And yeah, already.
Yeah.
Wow, and more wow. So now I'm going to say this to the next person that decides they want to poke their chest out and challenge me to a debate. I will now be charging a $500 non-refundable deposit, because that was not anything other than a waste of my fucking time. Not a single fact present, nothing more than sheer talking points. Also, I'm going to be going back to my TikTok live, and I'm going to upload my live that I did earlier today when I was out on my kayak, where I predicted exactly what his arguments were going to be. Because there's no possible way that you can even come close to asserting that black women are more racist than white women. I'm going to be honest. I don't feel sorry too often for people, but it disheartens me that young brother feels as though it's equality to allow his white friends to call him dehumanizing racial slurs. It astounds me that he believed that it's okay to make racist jokes and allow his white friends to make them as well towards other marginalized groups of people. It is astonishing, to say the least. You could never predict what he was going to say. He didn't even know. No, I did a whole, and for those of you that were on my TikTok live, you know, I did a whole live when I was out on my kayak with my big bro, my supervisor. We was out on our kayaks, and I predicted what his arguments were going to be. And here we are. I'm not going to lie to y'all. That was rough to hear. And I don't come across too many young men that think like that. So I sure hope in some way, shape, form, or fashion that I planted a seed, if not anything. That while it may not blossom right now, that it may blossom in the future. Now, let me also, end this by saying this. I do not believe in any way, shape, form, or fashion that prejudice toward anyone is okay. But when we talk about words, words have meaning and definitions for a reason. And I knew going into this that there was no possible way that he was going to win this debate. So I also want to apologize to the black women that listen to me and that consume my content. But I wanted to make it very clear that there is no comparison at all, nor has it ever been a comparison. We need not be hateful towards people, but this idea that we, more specifically as black people, are just to be loving and accepting of everyone is complete and utter bullshit. We have every right to be cautious. We have every right to be apprehensive toward the coming together of individuals that don't look like us, that have historically gained our trust and committed acts of genocide, bombed our neighborhoods, ripped our children from our arms. Now, is it all of them? Absolutely not. Let's put this into full context. But this idea that colonizer in any way, shape, form, or fashion is comparable to nigga is ridiculous. Ridiculous. So thank you to the 363 people that are over here on YouTube, to the scores of people that are over on my Twitch stream, and to the 190, I believe we were up to about 360 on TikTok and on the first stream, that pulled up and that took time out of their day to listen, as there was no way that this king was going to be silenced. Let me state one more time for the goofies that are going to watch this, that no amount of prejudice is right towards anyone. I want to end this by saying that I love you all. Stay vigilant. Read some books. Go down to your local library. Speak with your elders and gain you some knowledge. Good day. goofies. For the ones that think like that.